Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and joining me and Joe tonight, back from his cruise down to Bermuda, is Jason. Welcome back, bud. How was the cruise?
Yeah, thanks so much. Cruise was amazing. Clear water, just perfect aqua, teal hue to it, pink sand beaches. It was very hard to come back. And even having the extra Memorial Day holiday, it was still tough to get back to work today. But good to see you guys. I'm glad to be back. And I was very happy to not have been disappointed by the Phillies last week, only because I had no idea what was going on. So naturally, they welcomed me home the way that I thought they would on Sunday night.
Yeah, pretty typical result from the Phillies when the when it's time for that primetime showdown. It seems to have happened a lot like that lately. Kind of like my Vikings every time they're on Monday night or Sunday night football. Joe, how you doing, bud?
Doing all right, man. Can't complain too much. Nice holiday weekend with family, and it helped me forget what happened this week. So I'll take it.
Yeah, it was a kind of rough week for the Cubbies too. So, Jason, what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I have a Yards Brewing Filthy Peach, which is a hazy IPA. Was given this to me by our buddy Jim over at Huddle Up Podcast. It is absolutely delicious. It's brewed with a peach puree.
Nice. How about you, Joe?
I'm back on the SoCo and Coke train. So, a split this week and not in a good way. So I'm not too thrilled with how things have gone. So
we're back on the college drinks again. All right. Tonight, mainly because number one, it was in my fridge, and number two, we're doing course aeration right now at Bent Creek on our greens, and it sucks, and I'm a little sour about it. So sour monkey again tonight. And plus it's freaking delicious. You can't go wrong. All right, guys. So looking around the majors from this past week, Jesus Sanchez of the Marlins, he decided not only to reset this year's longest home run, but shatter this year's longest home run against the Rockies in the second inning out in Colorado. He decided to just absolutely destroy a Ryan Feltner changeup that was right on the corner, but unfortunately middle up. He blasted that sucker 496 feet. It is the longest home run of the season, fourth longest over the past 15 years. The exit velo on that one was 114.7 with a 31-degree launch angle. Feltner, though, did recover, pitched great, and the Rockies won that one 7-1. So, hey, you take your small victories where you can get it, right? I mean, I saw the replay for this home run, and oh my God, talk about the moment it left the bat, you knew it wasn't coming back anywhere near the field of play. He just crushed that one.
Yeah, I saw that replay too. That was one of the few things I've actually been able to catch up on, and it was fourth deck, and for a while there, the way that I saw the fans reacting, I thought that was going to be out of Coors Field potentially. So that was an absolute blast.
You know, to put this in perspective, is if that had happened at Wrigley Field, he might have been able to hit the center field scoreboard with a shot like that, which still hasn't happened yet, right? Mantle missed it by a couple feet and flew past it, if I remember right.
yeah, it certainly could have.
Yeah, he freaking crushed it.
Hell, the way as far as that went, I mean, it could have gotten into Lake Michigan for all we know.
Might have passed Jorge Soler's home run ball from the World Series in orbit. Who knows?
Chances are it did. It was hit harder than Soler's.
That was, the crazy thing is the Pujols home run against the Astros in the World Series way back when was probably hit harder, and the only reason it didn't seem like it is the stadium was closed and it bounced off the glass. So, speaking of the Rockies, they released their City Connect jerseys. Guys, I'm going to go through the description here. This might be one of my favorites so far, definitely top 5. So the cap, deep green hue, it's a green visor and back panel. The white panel is a contrasting white, which looks really nice. The logo uses the CO postal abbreviation for the state, features the purple mountains, blue sky, and then rings of red, gold, and purple. Blue, red, and gold are the colors of the Colorado flag as well as the Denver City flag, so they kind of tied all that in there. The jersey, the inspiration design was completely taken from those iconic green license plates that they have. This is from Jim Kellogg, the Rockies Vice President of Community and Retail Operations. He said, quote, "We modeled after the Rockies license plate because obviously wherever you're at in the U.S., if you see that plate, you know where it is. That's Colorado. It represents the mountains." And this might be one of the coolest things. They use the unique typography on the license plate on the jersey as well. And then the right sleeve has a yellow patch, which is meant to mimic the registration sticker on the license plate. Thank God we don't do that anymore. I don't miss that. And this year, like Pennsylvania used to do, they rotate the colors every year, and this year it is yellow. So good job tying that in correctly. The patch contains 2 black diamonds to represent the difficult ski trails. The number is 5280, aka how many feet are in a mile. Rocks vertically, which is shorthand for Rockies, as well as the latitude and longitude of Coors Field. They also, purple and green are 2 colors that don't normally complement each other really well at all, unless, of course, we're talking about Wimbledon, who's done it so well for years. But they did just a very little bit of purple piping on the edge of the sleeves. And they could have just put that there because it's team color, but they decided to make it represent the purple row of seats that are measured at 1 mile above sea level. And then the numbers are white with a purple outline. This is probably the only thing I have a real complaint about, and I'll get to that later. The pants solid green. They have a thin purple stripe running down the leg. The belt is white. So, guys, first of all, what do you think of these jerseys? Joe, what do you think?
This is a bang up set, man. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's easily top 2 for me, if not number 1, of the ones we've seen so far. It's fantastic. They tied everything of the entire state into that jersey. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason?
Yeah, they're some of my favorite jerseys as well. They're crisp and clean. They pay really good homage to the city and the state. I absolutely love these jerseys.
Yeah, my only complaint is on the back with the numbers. I wish the purple outline's fine, but I think it's going to get lost because of how the numbers poke up above the mountains. Kind of like how the Giants' weird, stupid fog thing that was terrible doesn't work at all. I just worry that it might get lost on the field. I kind of wish they would just bump the mountains up and kept the numbers inside the green mountains just to make it easier to see. But really, if that's the only complaint we have for a jersey set, it's pretty damn good. And honestly, mono green works. It's going to look nice. I mean, the pictures already look good, but I think on the field it's going to look really nice. So I'm excited to see. And actually, they're going to debut these jerseys against Atlanta. So I'll be among the first to see them if I'm still awake by the time that game comes on, because the game will be played out west. That's definitely always a good question. One other uniform-related thing, I forgot to put this in the topics, guys. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and Major League Baseball did have all of the players and umpires wearing the poppy patches inscribed with "Lest We Forget." This year, they did not have a patch on the caps, and to be honest, I was okay with that because I think cap patches either look really good or they look really bad. And just the simple poppy I thought was a great tribute. So that was it's much better than the G.I. Joe uniforms that MLB loves to pop up. So our buddy Jim, how about my Orioles? Bit of a nuisance to teams and winning games in the bullpen. Jealous, Jason?
Yes. So fun fact. I believe the Orioles and the Phillies have the exact same number of wins at the moment, which is sad for me as a Phillies fan and pretty good for Jim as an Orioles fan. And as we are talking about the bullpens, the Phillies bullpen just gave up the lead in the 5th inning because, why not?
Because of course they did.
Because of course they did. Cheers. But yeah, no, the Orioles have been really taking it to the teams lately. For the division that they are in, the Orioles are playing really strongly right now. So yeah, Orioles are looking pretty good.
Yeah, what are they up to? 21 and 29. I mean, that's considering where we thought the Orioles were going to be coming into the season. Nothing wrong with that. Plus, hey, maybe now that they're starting to bring up some of this youth talent, maybe it'll give them some good momentum going into next year too, and hopefully encourage them to hold on to guys like Cedric Mullins, Trey Mancini. Have a good nucleus of veterans around the young guys you're bringing up. Definitely would not be a bad idea at all. All right, so moving on. Gabe Kapler, former Phillies manager, now with the San Francisco Giants, he began a protest on Friday against the direction of the nation after the latest mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas at the Robb Elementary School, where 19 children and 3 adults were killed along with 18 others who were wounded. His quote about the whole thing, he had been staying in the dugout during the national anthem, but for Memorial Day, he said, quote, "Today, I'll be standing for the anthem. While I believe strongly in the right to protest and the importance of doing so, I also believe strongly in honoring and mourning our country's servicemen and women who fought and died for that right. Those who serve in our military, and especially those who have paid the ultimate price for our rights and freedoms, deserve that acknowledgement and respect. And I am honored to stand on the line today to show mine." Really, really, really good words, I think, from Kapler there. I absolutely agree with his protest. The state of things in this nation right now are a complete mess. Have been for a long time. I mean, there have been more mass shootings in the United States than I think the next 5 to 10 countries combined. It's really quite disheartening. But I think Kapler's doing it the right way. And you know what? I think coming out on Memorial Day to stand for that reason, I think he handled it extremely well. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, and I think Kapler really showed that he understands the meaning of Memorial Day. A lot of people they think of Memorial Day and Veterans Day as being the same thing, in that it's about honoring the current service members, which Memorial Day is about honoring and remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice. So for him to do that, I really appreciate his stance on that, because I also I agree with his protest overall. I think I'm not going to get into it too politically just because, we're the baseball show, but Kapler suspended for that day shows that he understood the meaning of the day.
Absolutely. Joe, any thoughts from you?
No, nothing to really say on it.
Okay. All right. And then MLB and baseball in general has done a remarkable job this year. We've gotten to highlight so many good gender inclusive things that have happened. We have the first woman managing down in the minor leagues. We have a two-way player down in the minor leagues. And you have more female coaches than there have ever been in baseball. And then MLB on May 20th sent out a memo stating, quote, "Numerous club stadiums fall embarrassingly below the high standards necessary for women who are part of the game's traveling parties to do their job and create an untenable working environment, and that the organization soon must reconfigure their facilities to fix what the league deemed unacceptable." This is frustrating. And I know for some clubs, especially teams that are playing in really old parks, take Wrigley and Fenway as the two key examples. Those are old parks. They weren't built with they weren't built with extra space in mind. But that article, which I read it on ESPN, I'm sure it was on other places as well. they interviewed a lot of women, and the most common complaint that they had was trying to figure out where they could go to the bathroom. And I think one woman said, actually, I think multiple women said that sometimes they would use the bathrooms by the dugout because they were the closest and most convenient, but those don't lock, and they had been walked in on by accident, of course, on more than one occasion. Why does it seem like everything with MLB is 2 steps forward, 1 step back? They mentioned that the Rangers have by far the best facilities. And of course, they have the newest stadium as well, so they were able to build that into the design of the stadium. But the one thing that I took the saddest thing I took away from this memo is that MLB didn't say, "Hey, you've got until this date to get within compliance." It's more of a you need to get within compliance, but they left when rather open-ended. And I think that's rather disappointing. Joe, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's going to take some time for some of these clubs to get to that point. I mean, women in the sport, as prominent as they are, has not been something that's been really felt like it was coming for so long. So I think some of these facilities just aren't there yet, and they'll get there. I think it's not, I don't think it's meant as a slight in any way. I think it's just a matter of facilities catching up to the growth of the game. I don't think it's intentional in any way. I think it's just adapting to the game as it's changing.
And I think that's why you don't see a hard deadline for teams to get everything up to code, because some of them are going to have so much that needs to be done that I don't think it's feasible to give a specific deadline. So yeah, I think it's something that it's overdue, and I think that they'll get it all. They'll get it done. It's just a matter of how long will that take.
The one thing I do, you guys make good points. These aren't changes that can happen overnight. But one thing I wish that MLB would have said in the memo is, instead of maybe a hard deadline for when the changes need to be implemented by, maybe a deadline for, we want your plans for how you're going to improve it by XYZ date. Make it the All-Star break, or maybe by August or September. Just at least put a little bit of pressure on the teams that are not in compliance to get into compliance, if that makes any sense. All right, guys. Let's move on to last week. Jason, you and I, even though you weren't around to enjoy it, well, it was a split. So yeah, you should have gotten a little enjoyment out of it. We'll start with Braves and Phillies. And Jason, why don't you go ahead, because the Phillies took Game 1 in the series last week. If you can unmute.
Yeah, I was hitting Control D, but it gave me some weird pop-up instead. Anyway, I looked at what happened in Game 2, and I'm happy with a split, because anytime you can get a split with a division rival, it's good. Philly should have absolutely taken at least 3 out of that.
So should the Braves.
But anyway, so Game 1 was a really good win for the Phils, 7-3 win. And Wheeler had a great game, 6 2/3, 2 earned runs, 10 strikeouts. Davidson took the loss for the Braves, 2 2/3, 5 earned runs, 2 Ks. And Rhys Hoskins had a 3-run double in the second, and JT kind of put it away with an RBI triple in the third. The Braves didn't get close since then. The keynotes for the Braves here, Swanson, Riley, and Albies each had RBI singles. Nothing major overall for either team in this game. The big stat that I found, though, is Acuna went 0 for 5, which did end a 29-game on-base streak that he had. So pretty standard game, nothing overly drastic for either team there.
Yeah, it was it was an interesting series. Yeah, I knew about the streak. I didn't realize it got all the way up to 29 games before it was snapped. That's a damn good streak. I don't care who the player is. And then game two started a pair of come from behind wins for Atlanta. Game two was a 6-5 victory, and that was William Contreras getting the first walk-off hit. His parents were actually in the stands for this game. That was the first time they've ever been in person to see him play a major league game. And he had not had a good game leading up to that point. He was 0-for-4 with 3 strikeouts before he singled Acuna home in the bottom of the ninth. So this game, Jason, this one was absolutely crazy. I mean, first you had Atlanta was up in the top of the ninth. Kenley Jansen was on, and then Bryce Harper hit a 2-run shot into the chop house. And I think he had 4 RBIs in that game or something like that. And then in the bottom of the ninth, the one thing I've said continuously is that I'm worried about Philadelphia's outfield defense. That's where it came back to bite you guys. Roman Quinn had an air out in center, and then Dansby had a double off Nelson. Now, Jason, was Gnabel unavailable? Is that why he was pitching?
Yeah, so I was doing some digging after I saw what happened in that game, because I saw it was a close game, and I went to see what happened in the box score. Saw the replay of the Bryce home run, which was absolutely smashed. And then basically, this is Girardi being Girardi and mismanaging the pen. He's been using Knebel and his top 3 relievers like Dominguez and even like Alvarado in hand in situations where they shouldn't be in the game. He's using them in non-save situations, non-hold situations. So because he's doing this, Knebel was the best pitchers in the bullpen, which that isn't really saying much. I mean, Sir Anthony Dominguez should be this team's closer. Knebel's not a closer. Or even like Francisco Morales, who they brought up for a game or two, and he dominated. Like, he should be up. But Knebel wasn't available, and it ended up Girardi just ended up costing them this game. I don't think Roman Quinn should have been in center field. He's fast, but he is not a great defender. He's only there for his speed. So this is a game that after Harper hit that 2-run homer, that's a game that the Phillies should have won. And Girardi keeps making the wrong calls, and he's costing them games.
Yeah, and that homer Harper hit, Jansen made a really good pitch, and Harper just got enough wood on it to get it out. Great pitcher versus great hitter. Sometimes the pitcher's going to win, sometimes the hitter's going to win. So going back to what happened in the ninth, Dansby had a double off Nelson, and then he advanced on a wild pitch, and then Acuna hit what should have been a sac fly out that bounced out of Quinn's glove. So Acuna got to second. Dansby scored, and then Acuna was driven in by Contreras. I mean, that was I can't remember a game that I've seen in a long time where I saw the score bounce back and forth so many times throughout the game. You know how you have games where you feel like neither team wants to win? It almost felt like that because the pitching on either side couldn't hold the hitters back throughout that entire game. All I can tell you is I was very happy when I read that I was not watching that live, because I would have talk about bipolar. I would have just been ecstatic followed by extremely, extremely unhappy. How do you think I felt while watching the game?
You at least had the happy ending.
True.
That's like I had to deal with the end of May last year.
Yeah, like I had to deal with that loss against the Mets from the other week. Like, that's fresh in the mind, and they do that, and then we'll get to it later on. But they did the exact same damn thing again.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? The starters pitched so well and were non-factors. Gibson went 5, 7 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 8 strikeouts. Fried went 6, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. It's not the starting pitching that killed this one. It was the bullpens. And the crazy thing is too, I can't remember seeing a box score where Jansen gives up a home run and doesn't strike anybody out. That does not happen very often. He is a strikeout machine. Other things in that game. Olsen also had a home run off Norwood earlier in the 6th, which kind of woke Atlanta was mired in a little bit of a slump up to that point because Gibson had been shutting them down. I'm not surprised Norwood provided the spark there. So it was a good come from behind win for Atlanta. Pretty similar otherwise, 2 for 8 for the Phillies, runners and scoring, 3 for 8 for Atlanta. Ozzy Albies, love the guy to death. He needs to be a little more selective on the base paths, especially against a guy with a known cannon for an arm behind home plate in JT Realmuto, who caught him trying to steal twice. When the offense isn't hitting consistently, don't take runners off the base, especially against a catcher with such a good arm. I'm just going to leave that one alone after that. And then the next one was an 8-4 victory for Atlanta. The Bats came out big in this one. It was a tie in the 5th, and then Dansby broke it open after that. Honestly, one of the better games I thought that Atlanta's played for as far as complete games go for the season. It opened with a Herrera home run to right, and then a Contreras solo shot in the 2nd. And then Atlanta played a lot of small – actually, both teams played a lot of small ball throughout this. And then 2 late home runs for Atlanta as well. Riley had a homer to left, and again, Swanson had that home run to right. Ranger Suarez, not the guy that we saw last year, and I was kind of expecting a little bit of regression from him. Just there's more tape on him now. Hitters are going to see it. They're going to get better. But he really got knocked around. 4 1/3, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not a great game for Charlie Morton, who had a run of better games. I don't want to say great yet, but much better. 4 1/3, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, only 4 strikeouts. Spencer Strider, who I believe started actually last night or tonight for Atlanta, or at least open for Atlanta. The fireballer, once again, he's coming in and he's pitching quality innings for Atlanta. In this game, 2 2/3, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And the one thing I've been impressed with Strider, he is still getting some walks, but his breaking stuff looks a lot more crisp than it did to open the year. So, and he's not just trying to pump 99 to 101 gas to get past guys, because it's a good fastball, but it doesn't break a ton. And as we know, a flat fastball, even if it's 120 miles an hour, will get crushed. Jason, do you want to tell us how you guys managed to salvage a split?
Yeah, and first things first here, I need to touch base. You mentioned about how Norwood kind of helped the Braves bats get into it. That's kind of what Norwood is doing this year. He should not be on this roster, should not be pitching in this bullpen. He has been in 17 games this season, 14 1/3 innings, and he's given up 13 earned runs. His ERA is 8.16. So he's not the person you bring in these types of games, in these types of situations. He shouldn't even be in the game, period. So it's more mismanagement by Joe Girardi. Just going with a player who is clearly not the person that they need in the situations. But
I mean, he's the guy you bring in when you're getting blown out in the 3rd inning to just eat some innings up, because if he gives up another 5 runs, it doesn't matter. You're down. Well, I shouldn't say that, because the last time you were here watching a game with me, didn't both teams have 8-run leads or something ridiculous like that got erased?
Yeah, I think the Braves are up 8-0. Phils came back to take a 10 or 11-8 lead, and it was back and forth bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad pitching that night.
Yeah, but so the Phils did salvage the sweep with Game 4. It was a 4-1 win. It was actually a really good pitching matchup this time around, which was kind of the opposite of a couple of the other games. Aaron Nola pitched a gem. He has been pitching very well this year. He's just not getting the run support. And he finally got a few runs, and he put together a game, 8 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts, 4-1 win. Kyle Wright went 6 2/3, 3 earned runs, 5 Ks. And the blows here from the Phillies were a JT Realmuto home run, and then Odubel Herrera and Nick Castellanos had RBI doubles. And Olsen scored the only run for the Braves in the 9th on a wild pitch by none other than Corey Knebel, which I fully expected him to end. Like, when I saw what was going on, I fully expected Knebel then to eventually have blown the game, just because I don't get how Nola was at, I think it's at like 103 pitches or so. 8 1/3 innings. Let him finish the game. He's pitching well. You know your bullpen sucks. Let the starter finish it out. So, Nola's been getting DeGrom the entire year, and he finally got some runs, and he made it count with a really good win overall. Nothing significant from the Braves side of things, and other than the Phillies hits there, that was, again, kind of a pretty standard. It was a good pitcher game.
Yeah, I don't understand why he brought Knebel in. When he came in, I was like, why? He's got a 4-run lead. He's barely over 100 pitches. He needs 2 outs. It's not like the bases were jacked. He was at 120 pitches. We weren't at the point of one swing is going to lose the game. Let your starter take the damn complete game. And the fact that I have Nola on fantasy right now due to numerous injuries to my pitching staff, and that I lost a complete game stat for that, might be playing into this too.
Well, and the thing there is, from what I saw, it wasn't a save situation. So why are you bringing Knebel in and using him in a non-save situation? You're going to make him unavailable for the next day or two if there is a save situation. So I'm over Joe Girardi. I have been as patient as I possibly could. I've given him the benefit of the doubt the last few seasons. He needs to go. It might not change anything right now, but you have to start somewhere. And we're going to even get farther into that as we get into the rest of the series, because stupid team in the Mets.
Hey, at least he didn't bring Norwood in.
Not in that game, at least.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Jason, do you want to finish off the Phillies, or do you want me to finish off Atlanta?
Well, the Phillies have already finished off themselves, is what happened. Like,
take it away.
The only drawback about the Phillies being the Phillies is they can't play the Phillies. They can't play themselves. They beat themselves already, but they don't get a win for it. So anyway, after salvaging a split, they went to New York to face the first place Mets. And long story short, the brooms came out by the Mets, of course. So game 1 was an 8-6 loss to the Mets. Carrasco went 5 2/3, 5 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. So yeah, he gave up 5 earned runs, and he still ended up getting the win because the Phillies threw Bailey Falter out there as kind of like a spot start. It seems he went 3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. He did his job, did what he needed to do, get a couple innings in. And then the big blows here, Alonso had a home run and 4 RBIs on the night. Garrett Stubbs did have a home run to make it a 1-run game in the 6th, but the Phillies could not get anything else going. And Edwin Diaz closed it out in the 9th. Again, nothing that I really have from that game. Game 2 was another loss. I believe this one was 8-2 or 8-3. I, for some reason, did not write the score down. But Taijuan Walker went 5, gave up 2 earned runs, had 1 strikeout. Zach Eflin went 6 innings, So he went one more inning than Taijuan Walker, and he gave up 7 earned runs on 4 strikeouts. So, again, who was Girardi saving in the bullpen? I have no idea. McNeil had the blow for the Mets, big blow with a 3-run homer in the 4th, and Phillies never recovered. And then Game 3, Sunday Night Baseball. Welcome back to the States, Jason. We're going to give you hope and take it away. It was Phillies were down 3-1 entering the 8th inning, and Nick Castellanos had a huge 3-run homer out to left center field, give the Phils a 4-3 lead, which they ended up taking into the 9th. And then Knebel blew the save with a home run by Plummer in the 9th, which I believe was his first career home run. And it naturally came at the best possible time for the Mets, worst possible time for the Phillies, as it tied the game. And I believe it was the first pitch, too, that he just smacked. And then, again, Girardi, for some reason, keeps wrapping his relievers around or trying for 4-out saves, whatever. I don't even know what he's thinking anymore, because he left Knebel in for the 10th inning instead of throwing another pitcher out there. I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference with the bullpen that they have anyway. But why are you taking your closer, who you just saw give up the tying run, pitch a full inning, and bringing him back out into the 10th? He gave up a walk-off double to Escobar, and it was a 5-4 loss. Edwin Diaz ended up getting the win for that. Knebel with the loss. And it was the second time this week that the Phillies bullpen, that the Phillies offense showed some life, got the team a lead, and that they couldn't close it out. And it ended up being only the second time, because they did it again last night, but we'll talk about that next week.
Spread the misery.
Just awful. Yeah. But big sweep for the Mets. Awful sweep. I really was hoping that would be the last straw, that Girardi would not see the game on Memorial Day, and he's still the manager. And I have no reason to believe that he will be let go anytime soon, because it's very clear right now that Dombrowski and Middleton, they don't care that the team's playing uninspired baseball. The team doesn't even look like they're having fun, which I don't know why they would be having fun, because they're finding ways to lose. This team is too good to be this bad. The offense, when they show signs of life, is great, but they spend all this money to get better, and they have gotten better, even though their record doesn't show it. And it's because they didn't address their biggest need. So I'm over Joe Girardi as the Phillies manager. The team just keeps beating themselves, and they don't get the points for it because those wins go to the other team. So it's just too bad that they can't play themselves and get points.
So, Jason, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news is, on the season, the Mets have the Phillies number. It's 9-3 so far. The good news is you don't have to play them again till August. And hey, maybe by that point, maybe more of their pitching staff will be decimated with injuries, and the rest of us can have a better chance of coming back against the damn Mets. Yeah.
Well, the thing with the Phils right now is their schedule this first half of the season is definitely the hardest stretch of their season. It does get easier for them. But the trouble is they're already now 11 and a half games back, and they're 7 now, I believe, 8 under 500. So this stretch was where they needed to try to at least just keep their heads above water, and they've let their heads drop underneath the surface. So they're starting to bury themselves. If they don't change it in a hurry, they're going to be well out of it, and it's just going to be a miserable second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely not what you guys were thinking after the massive money you poured into the team in the offseason. Again, though, I said it this offseason, you didn't do enough for your pitching staff. You did some. Knable's not a good closer, but let's be realistic. This is his career. He's at best, he's an above average closer who might have a couple all-star years and look better than he really is, but he's not a great closer.
Yeah, and I think the trouble with it right now is the team is playing uninspired baseball because their manager is uninspired. And I think the trouble is also, the Phillies have improved, but they're just like, and I was expecting good things after they played the Dodgers. They played well against the Dodgers. They were really playing up to the teams, and then they just hit that wall. And even after getting a split against the Braves, when you probably should have had three, a split is still good, but then you just went in flat against the Mets. It's you can't have these up and down streaks. You need to be more consistent.
Yeah, and that consistency is something Atlanta's definitely had a problem with this year as well. Before I hop onto the Braves, Joe, anything else for the Phillies?
I think the Phillies need to go out and get Scott Sterling to save games.
I mean,
I'd take him.
I mean, at this point, the Phillies could go get the damn water boy, and he'd probably do better than Knable's done so far.
And that's the part that's driving me nuts about Knable is he didn't start out badly.
No,
like he was saving games, like he was getting out of jams. But I believe like his last 3 save opportunities, he's blown. Like you can't do that. He needs. We're getting ourselves into a Hector Neris situation where he needs to be put into a different spot to help the team. And you need to have somebody like Sir Anthony Dominguez who throws absolute gas, close the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do something in that bullpen. And unfortunately, if you're not scoring as many runs as you expect to score, it just doesn't help, unfortunately.
And Jason, honestly, the Phillies are starting to remind me more and more of the 2020 Reds, where it's turned into all or nothing on offense. They're going for the long ball, and if it's there, and they get a lot of runs. But if it's not there, they're not playing enough small ball. And it's at some point you're going to see Wheeler and Nola just look at the offense and go, "This is bullshit. Put me in the DH." So, all right. So let's move on and see what happened with the rest of the week for Atlanta. Which Atlanta, again, this was a division week for the Braves and the Phillies, and the Braves should have. I really wish they would have swept the damn Marlins. I'm not surprised that the one loss came to frickin' Alcantara, like it always seems to happen. I mean, the dude's just that good, frustratingly good, especially against other NL East opponents. In the first game, the Braves took this one 6-4. Acuna didn't start this one. He had been dealing with, I think this was either an oblique or a groin, nothing major, but they told him, "Hey, get ready. You might need to pinch hit." And they brought him in, and in the 7th inning, he hit a pinch hit double to tie the game, and then he scored the go-ahead run when Albies then hit a 2-run bloop double that literally fell down right in front of Jorge Soler in left field. It was a little bit farther than the 14 or 15-foot triple, but not really all that much. And because Soler, for some reason, decided – I don't even know what the hell he was thinking. He was so focused on the wrong guy that, runners just keep advancing because Ron Washington is by far the most overly aggressive third base coach in baseball. Plus, as we saw, I can't remember which game it was last week. It might have been one of the Phillies games. He actually threw up the rare stop sign. Dansby ran right through it and scored easily because one of the outfielders once again was watching the wrong runner and threw to the wrong base, and Swanson scored easily. So I'm happy to see this out of Atlanta. I just don't want to see bad attempts at stolen bases where there don't need to be. It was a quad injury. There we go. So before that, though, it had been a 4-3 game. Miami had been playing really well in this one, and then Matt Olson. It's always tough to be the guy, one that comes in to replace such a beloved guy in Freddie Freeman, and then to immediately sign a huge contract. Olson had a rough game. He hit the golden sombrero with 3 strikeouts, but he also drew a critical walk there and came around to score on it. That actually might have been the play where he came around from first. But even as he's having a little bit of a struggle, the rest of the team picked it up. Darnell had a double. Albies had a double. Contreras had a double. Riley had a home run. So you're seeing contributions up and down the lineup. And Snit, we've got a lot of guys that have been so streaky. He's been messing around with the lineup. We're not quite at the Mets of 2021 yet, but when you've got Swanson leading off and Olson was hitting, I think, like 6th, you're trying unusual things. And, hey, it paid off this time. And maybe you'll get some of these guys going. Ian Anderson didn't pick up the win, but he pitched okay. 5 2/3, 4 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Rogers, surprisingly, because Atlanta usually hits him pretty well. Rogers, 5 innings, 3 runs, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts. Unfortunately, as I said, it was the bullpen that blew this one for the Marlins. All right, and then in the second game of the series, that was, of course, the great Alcantara. I was hoping last week, Jason, when I was talking to Joe, that by facing Alcantara consecutively, as what often happens, the offense gets an edge the second time because they just saw that guy. Nope, not this time. Alcantara pitched Jim, 8 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, and 14 strikeouts. And, that's all we're going to go with on that one. It was just an absolutely dominating performance by Alcantara. Davidson didn't pitch bad for Atlanta, 5 innings, an earned run, but he walked 4 while striking out 3, which, just not a recipe for success. So we're just going to move on from that one. Go Alcantara. Good God, I hope the Marlins are tanking at the deadline and you get traded. Get out of the damn division. I'm tired of facing you. And then Atlanta in the Sunday game finally showed some more consistent offense. Ozuna had 2 home runs in this one. It was a 6-3 victory for Atlanta. And they were pretty big home runs. Ozuna's 2 were 413 and then 458. Soler did open the game for the Marlins with a solo shot to center at 422. Riley also had a home run to center as well. And then Contreras had an RBI double as well. Olson had 2 doubles in the game. Albies actually had 2 doubles as well. So it was just a really good all-around offensive performance for Atlanta. Swanson stole 2 bags because, hey, when you're not running against JT Realmuto, it's a lot easier to steal bases. Who would have thought? And then Max Fried, good outing for him. 6 innings, 6 hits, an earned run, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. No complaints from me there. So, Atlanta did what they had to do. The Marlins are a team that they need to beat, especially when they're playing them at home. I understand going down to Florida where they just all sorts of kooky shit happens in that ballpark, and it doesn't make it. It's like going to Iowa at night. Weird things are going to happen no matter what. So, I wish Atlanta would have taken 3 out of 4, but you never complain with the split from a division team. And then to take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. The thing I want to see from Atlanta, they need to be more consistent. They still haven't lost 3 games in a row this year, but they also still haven't won 3 games in a row this year. And it's just the freaking seesaw of, hey, this is going to be a good week, so next week's going to be a bad week, and then the week after that'll be a good week, and the week after that'll be a bad. I'd kind of like it to stop. My nerves would prefer a more consistent good. Let's play like the damn defending World Series champions for a change. That said, they're always a slow starting team, especially since Snitker took over, and they are a much better second half team. So I'm not in panic mode yet. I would just like to see a little more consistency. Anything else, guys?
Well, I mean, the good thing for them though is the taking 2 out of 3 from the Marlins is actually big, especially with how much trouble the Marlins give the Braves. I mean, from like a Philly standpoint, where I see the Marlins taking out the Phillies and the Braves year after year. So taking 2 out of 3 is actually much better progress than I think people realize.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that the Marlins are able to do that to the Braves and the Phillies every year, but they can't do it to any other team. It's the Marlins. It makes no sense. Joe?
Yeah, I mean they've got to do more of this in order to get close to the Mets. I mean they got to stay, a little closer. I mean they're not out of it. Neither one of you guys are out of it yet, but it's just like you're just waiting for the Mets to lose a 7-game lead in September, and I think you're going to have to be closer than that.
100%.
This year, this year you have to be closer. You can't, 7.5 is going to be too far.
And a big reason for that is I think Buck Showalter has the team much more disciplined than they have been in the past. The new leadership, in the front office, all the way up at the top there. This Mets team is more disciplined than the Mets teams we've seen in the past that we've grown accustomed to, losing it later in the season. And that's one of the reasons why I kept them as my pick to be the division champs this year. Buck Showalter is working his magic so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really able to weather the storms of being without DeGrom, without Scherzer now. McGill has been fantastic. Carrasco and Walker have been better, than they were last year for sure.
Have they lost McGill now too, though?
I think McGill is on the IL. Give me a second. I'll pull him up here.
Yeah, Bassett was a huge pickup for them too because he's been really good.
Bassett's been huge. And Lindor having a better season this year so far is big for the Mets too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Peterson has been good for them as a starter too, with the injuries they've had. Again, you mentioned ownership, Jason. I don't think the previous ownership would have said, "I don't care about $40 million. He sucks." They wouldn't have just said, "Screw it, see ya," to Cano, the Wilpons. The Wilpons wouldn't. I don't know if another manager. I don't know if Rojas would have said to Dom Smith like they did today. You know what? No, you're going down. Like you're a good backup to Alonso, but you can't hit for shit right now.
Yeah.
And previous Mets leadership would not have done that.
Yeah, McGill is on the 15-day. He's got a bicep tendonitis. So he's potentially going to be out probably closer to a month, I would think, with rehab starts. So let's talk about the Mets for a quick second here. Their starting pitching is starting to get decimated in a very Mets-esque way, if that's a word, and if it's not, I'm coining it now. How long do you think they're going to be able to keep their heads up before losing such big arms hurts them?
I mean, right now their offensive production is outweighing that. So, none of these starters are getting DeGrommed. I know we kind of coined that last year, but none of these guys are getting DeGrommed. They're getting relatively consistent run support. And I mean, I know that as a Cub fan with Hendricks, like if he gets run support, those 2 home runs he gives up don't matter.
Yeah, very true. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, the offense is picking them up. They're getting clutch hits. The Mets are coming back from what looked to be losses and getting wins out of it. And a big reason for this is their bullpen has been solid. Their bullpen has not been blowing leads like they have in the past. So you have that solid bullpen to keep them in games, keep them close in games that the starters maybe struggle, and then the offense just comes through with timely hitting. So I think we'll see the Mets keep their heads above water for quite some time because of that.
Yeah, you look at too since May 25th of last year, the top 3 home run hitters in the National League are from 3-1: Harper, Patrick Wisdom, and Pete Alonso. Alonso's just getting it done at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just had the stat. Now I can't find it. I was trying to pull up the Mets RASP number, and I can't find it now. But if I'm not mistaken, the Mets are in top third in batting with runners in scoring position this year, and I mean that makes all the difference in the world.
Big time.
All right, Joe, you're ready to commiserate about the Cubs?
Why not? Let's get this show going. First, before we recap the week, a hat tip to Obvious Shirts in Chicago for this. I bought the shirt, but it's fantastic since we're playing the Cardinals this week. Yeah, can't stand St. Louis. I'm glad they're playing at Wrigley. But at Obvious Shirts on Twitter, they're fun to follow, and their newest shirt for rookie Christopher Morel is "I'm here for moral support." So. The catchy shirts, it's hilarious. Following them for games is good too. And they even have, and since we played the Reds, they have a shirt that says, "If Joey Votto didn't swing, it wasn't a strike." So,
I can't argue with that.
yeah. So they open this week with a 4-game set in Cincinnati, which is always trouble in Cincinnati or in Pittsburgh. Sometimes they just don't have a good series. If you had told me we'd be 500 for the week, I would have thought, okay, we lose 2 against the White Sox and we lose 1 in Cincinnati. No, we split in Cincinnati and we split against the White Sox. So, game 1, 7-4 win. Smiley went 5 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2 home runs he gave up. Didn't get the win, but the bullpen went 3 1/3, 1 hit, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. They give up 1 home run, but the bullpen has been phenomenal. The bullpen is the story for this club most of the time. Ian Happ.
How's that feel?
What's that?
Said, how does that feel? I don't know what that's like.
The one thing I will say about the Cubs is that they know how to put a bullpen together as an organization. So that's the one thing I can hang my hat on right now. And they've got a lot of good young pitching coming up through the minors, as we'll talk about. Ian Happ in this one, an RBI double and a 3-run homer in the 7th. Wisdom had a bomb, a 3-run homer as well. Tommy Pham had a home run. Aristides Aquino had a 2-run homer and in the 6th and a solo shot in the 8th. That was the offense for this game. The Ian Happ, just to give you an idea, coming out of Monday's game, going into Tuesday's game, has played 35 games in Cincinnati, has a 351 average, 14 home runs, 29 RBIs, an 816 slugging, and a 1272 OPS. So clearly he likes to play in Cincinnati. And as they, relentlessly remind you every time they play in Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, Happ grew up in Pittsburgh and he played college ball in Cincinnati. So he likes Cincinnati for some reason. Game 2, 11-4 win. So more of what I was liking to see this week here. Game 1, game 2. Game 2, Stroman has been fantastic in the month of May. He's been fantastic since he came back a few starts ago. 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Tyler Mahle takes the loss in this one. 4 innings, 9 hits, 8 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, 2 home runs. So, Suzuki and Schwindel started off the scoring here. Suzuki had a sac fly. Christopher Morel has been, again, fantastic, but he scores on this. And then Schwindel hits a 2-run homer. So Schwindel, going into his at-bat tonight, was hitting 225. So he's really turned it around from being about 203 right around the Mendoza line, and now he's, a solid contributor after a 24-hour stint in Iowa. Bottom of the first, Votto gets the scoring going for Cincinnati with an RBI single. Stevenson has an RBI single. Rivas had a 2 RBI triple later in the game. Schwindel had another homer. So that's the offense here. The big story here is Stroman has been, again, fantastic in the month of May, particularly the last few weeks. And it's, his line for this week, I'll get ahead of that. A 150 ERA, 1.50 ERA, 12 innings pitched, 2 runs, and 10 strikeouts. This is what you went out and got the big fish to do. So this is what they spent money on. So you're glad to see us getting that result, getting what we paid for there. Game 3, 4-3 loss. Hendricks looked terrible. 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, a walk, a strikeout, a home run. Hendricks' ERA right now 5.2, and he's got a record of 2-5. His sinker is just not locating well. Last year his sinker was fantastic. This year his changeup is great, but his sinker is not. So he's got to sort of fine-tune things, get back in the lab, and kind of figure it out, hopefully, and pitch out of this little funk that he's in. Castillo, 5 innings, gets the win for the Reds. 4 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. The Cubs got 1 hit the rest of the game after Castillo left. It's just not going to get it done in a tight game like this. There was a 2-run RBI double, 2 RBI double in the first. Votto had a home run. Pham had a single in the second. Votto had a 2 RBI triple in this game. In the ninth, Nico had an RBI single. The dynamic duo Schwisdom went 0 for 6 on the day in this game. Again, dovetailing off of a bad start by Kyle, that's just not going to get it done. Ross got tossed in the ninth of this game. The first of 2 ejections in 2 days for David Ross. Votto got pitched high and tight, and then he got walked, and he kind of did what Votto does, kind of a little bit, some gestures, the bat flip, the, walking backwards down the first base line, kind of staring at the pitcher and throwing his elbow guard and stuff like that. Kind of acted stupid, and not that it's out of character for Votto, but, it is what it is. And then the next inning, in the ninth inning, Wisdom gets hit. Like, it wasn't even close. It just straight for the elbow. And there was no debate between the umpires on this one. So Ross kind of took exception to the fact that they didn't really discuss whether it was intentional or not. Didn't at least have a conversation. Gave the ump quite an earful and got tossed. It is what it is. They don't have a high-level ump on this crew for these 2 games. So just kind of shocking, as quickly as they like to rein games in. A lot of times umpires. In this one, they didn't really do that. And Ross just wasn't thrilled with that approach. Game 4, 20-5 loss in this game for the Cubs. I think the Reds probably scored. I don't remember what the stat was. It was like 20 or 25 or a third of their runs for the season in this game. It was terrible. Just awful. Justin Steele, looked awful in this game. 2 innings, 7 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks, a couple of strikeouts, and a home run. And the bullpen couldn't help either. Efros, 1 inning, 3 hits, 3 runs, and a walk. Martin, three hits, 2 runs. Wick gave up 2 runs. Simmons, who pitched in the 8th with a bad shoulder as a shortstop. Why you would bring a guy with a sore arm in, I don't know, but whatever. Pitched the 8th in this one, 5 hits, 5 runs, a walk. Andrelton Simmons has a 45 ERA as a pitcher. So I don't know if it's as bad as Yachty or Pujols. It might be worse, but hey, it is what it is. Position players, just I don't know.
They'd be leading in ERA on the Phils. I mean, Joe, I didn't think that I could feel better about the Phillies, but hearing that the Cubs had that happen to them at 20-5 against the Reds, it helps the sting a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I bet it does. Again, Ross got tossed in this game. This was in the 7th inning. He got tossed in a 13-5 game at that point. I forget who was pitching for the Reds at that point in the game, but threw at Wilson and hit him pretty easily. And again, no real discussion between the umpire and crew on, okay, like really? Like 2 guys in 2 days? Like something's going on here. No discussion. He was calmer this time in discussing it with the umpires, but was still tossed from this game in the 7th. So, he's going to bat for his guys, and he's having some success with developing some of these guys. So I am softening a little bit on David Ross, but not too much. Stats for this game for you. Hunter Green got the win, 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Did give up 3 home runs, but it wasn't, consequential given what the Cubs were doing. Cubs had 1 hit off the bullpen again in this game after Green left the game. Farmer had himself a day for the Reds, 4 for 4, 3 runs, 5 RBIs, a 2-run homer, a solo homer, and a 2 RBI single. He just had himself a day. Tommy Pham had his best hits of the week in this game. 2 for 4, 2 runs, 3 RBIs.
Did he have his best hits of the week, though, in that game?
Yes, he did.
I thought he was participating in Slapsgiving, but hey, maybe that's just me.
Yeah. An RBI double, a sac fly, and another sac fly. So just productive at bats and some of his better hitting of the week. I guess until he got to San Francisco. Drury had fielder's choice scores and run, 2 RBI double. Reynolds had a 2 RBI triple and a sac fly. So the Reds just came to hit that day. Schwindel had a 2-run RBI, a double in the first, and the Wilson and Nico and Happ all had homers in this game. Wisdom and Rivas were both 0 for 4. So Wisdom is doing what Wisdom does and not being as productive as I would like him to be. Any thoughts on the Red series, guys?
Well, I mean, great that you guys managed to split, but when you give up 20 runs, it kind of puts a whole burnish on that.
And so what I gather, Joe, is you were saying that Wisdom was not really that smart. I'll see myself out. Thank you, everybody.
That is probably the understatement of the week for this one. But I will get into him a little bit more here with the end of this White Sox series here for the week, the 2-game set. Game 1 was a 5-1 win. Keegan Thompson has been stellar as a starter. 5 innings, 5 hits, a run, a walk, 4 strikeouts, and a homer in this game. Keegan Thompson, between his 40 innings so far, is 5-0 with his mix of starts and relieving time, and has a 1.58 ERA. The guy is getting outs when he needs to get outs. Pitched about 77 pitches in this game, which is the highest he's thrown. So they're starting to stretch him out, particularly with Miley on the IL now, and Steele not being as clean and productive. I think they needed to make a move here and see what they could do. Give him a chance to do what he needs to do and win games, and he's showing that he can do it, and he's more diverse with with his pitch types than Steele is. He has more pitches he can throw, and he's showing a lot more of that. So Keegan Thompson is by far and away the biggest bright spot from a starting pitching standpoint that you weren't sure what you were getting. I say that because when you sign Stroman, you know what you're getting. With Thompson, they weren't really sure what they were doing with reliever versus starter, but he's just getting it done wherever they put him. And I love that mentality and that ability he has. So, and then in the rest of this, so the bullpen guys, they went 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. So the bullpen was back to being their normal self, being a little more productive. Wisdom had an RBI double. Schwindel had an RBI single. Berger in this game had a home run in the 5th inning. The the White Sox were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Cueto took the loss in this one. 6 2/3, 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So Cueto went in a little bit too far. La Russa left him in about 2/3 of an inning too long, and that led to what was a 3-1 game being a 5-1 game. So anyhow, that's the story. Game 1. Game 2, a 5-4 loss in 12 innings, which is just not what you want to see, obviously. Stroman pitched 7 innings in this one, 3 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Dylan Cease, I didn't write his stats down, but Dylan Cease was amazing in this game. He went 7 innings, threw about 110, I think, pitch-wise. Really was able to get outs and keep this a close game. 3 blown saves by the Cub bullpen in this one. Robertson blew it in the 9th, Efros in the 10th, and then Gesellman in the 11th. So just not a good game for as good of a pitching matchup as this was, and as good as this game was through 8 innings. The fact that it went 12 just really not what we wanted. Obviously, in the 8th inning, Schwindel gets an RBI double, or not an RBI double. He gets a double to start the inning, moves to third on a ground ball to the right side, and then Rivas and Wisdom both strike out, so he can't score on that. And Frazier was pitch running at that point. But the Wild pitch to third, and then Wisdom and Ortega strike out, and then Nico hits a crappy soft ground ball to second. So, it's certainly not how they wanted to do this game. Wisdom, as I said, has not been, as you said, Jason, has not been so wise with his pitch selection when he's at the plate. 63 strikeouts this year. These are, Javi Baez numbers, and that's not what we want, obviously. But he's a clone of him from a standpoint of it's either a long drive, power, double, or a homer, or it's a strikeout. There's really no in between with him. He's a really solid defender, but at some point, hopefully they have someone who could be a little bit stronger defender and hit the ball.
Yeah, for the record, Joe, he is still well ahead of Javi Baez in the strikeout category. Although he's only in the lead by 3 right now. Eugenio Suarez and Kyle Schwarber are right behind him at 64 strikeouts coming into play tonight. Baez, sorry, I'm looking down the list right now. Baez is tied for 34th in the American League right now with only 40 strikeouts. I am utterly shocked that he's only had 40 strikeouts this season.
Yeah, and the Tigers just aren't scoring runs either. So, I mean, he's not getting it done from either perspective there.
No. That said, though, he only has scroll to the wrong spot. He only has 6 walks, so it's not like teams are walking him, they're just letting him ground out or fly out. So, but yeah, that was a very odd week for the Cubs, to say the least. if you would have told me, you know, how do I think this week's going to go that gets the Cubs a 500 record? A split and a split was not at all what I would have predicted. That was, that was bizarre.
That win against the White Sox got them, or against the Cubs on Sunday for the White Sox, got them back to 500.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to believe, actually.
Well, the White Sox, the injuries they've been dealing with this season this is ridiculous. Now, that said, the Twins right now are mired in a whole bunch of injuries themselves. So now that the White Sox are slowly starting to get healthy, I think I saw Dylan Cease is going to be starting rehab start soon. So he's verging on coming back.
Well, Dylan Cease is already pitching.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then you meant
yeah,
Lynn.
I mean Lynn.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I meant Lynn. Now that the White Sox are starting to get their pitching back, it's only a 5-game lead that the Twins hold on the White Sox coming into tonight. And the Twins are starting to get hit with injuries. If I'm the Twins, I'm starting to get damn nervous about how things are going right now because this is not what they wanted to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Looked up Dylan Cease's line from Sunday. It was 7 innings, 2 hits, a run, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, not a bad line, honestly. Jason, any thoughts from you?
No, I have nothing additional. I just hearing that Robertson blew the save just made me think back. He was the Phillies. Well, he was supposed to be the Phillies closer. I forget how many millions they gave him, but it was for like one save because he got injured and didn't pitch for the rest of his contract, which was like 2 to 3 years. So, I'm a little sour about Robertson. So,
no, I wouldn't have guessed. Wouldn't have guessed at all. Hold on a second. I could tell you how much money they gave him. The Phillies gave him.
I'm sure Jason wants a reminder about this one.
23. No, I'm sorry. It was 21 million over 2 years plus a $2 million buyout. Really, it could have been a lot worse.
And how many games did he pitch in that contract?
Barely any.
It was only like a handful of games. It really was.
He pitched in 7 games. He threw 6 2/3 inning with a 5.40 ERA, allowed 8 hits, 4 earned runs, a homer, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts. That is a whip of 2.1 for those who were trying to keep track of the score. Yeah, he definitely won that contract, not you guys, that's for sure. Oof.
Thief.
Yeah. That's almost Mike Hampton and the Braves level bad. Almost. Although at least Colorado took a big chunk of that contract, so we didn't have to pay the whole damn thing.
Hey, we're only about a month away from Bobby Bonilla Day, so.
Oh, I can't wait. But I'm going to try and get Logan on for Bobby Bonilla Day because you have to have a Mets fan on for Bobby Bonilla Day. It would be wrong not to.
Yes, it would.
All right, guys, let's move on to the hot players from this past week. So for me, number one, and, going back to what we kind of touched on earlier, talk about career turnarounds from one year to the next. Francisco Lindor had one hell of a week. He scored 9 runs, 2 homers, 14 RBIs, stole 2 bags. His slash line was 435, 482, 913, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. He also had a double and 2 triples for good measure in there as well. Mookie Betts was the next guy I had. He had 8 runs, scored 5 homers, 7 RBIs, 444, 500, 1.074 line. I also had Jose Ramirez, 5 runs, 3 homers, a 364, 440, 955 line. And then despite the slap across the face, I had Jock Peterson, who had 5 runs scored with 4 homers, 13 RBIs, 455, 61.1 slash line. So those were my top 4 hitters from the past week. Did you guys have anybody else you wanted to toss on there?
I'm gonna throw on my Moneyball hitter of the week here, JD Martinez. 542, 656, 625, 1281. 10 runs, 13 hits, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 5 strikeouts, and 7 walks.
Yeah, it's not bad.
A big reason that the Red Sox were good last week.
That does tend to help, yeah. Jason, anybody else for you?
No, with being away the entire week, I didn't really have a chance to see who was doing what.
All right, sounds good. And then for pitchers, I had Sonny Gray was my top pitcher the past week with 2 wins, 14 strikeouts, a very nice .69 ERA with a .54 WHIP. Corbin Burns, 16 strikeouts with 2 wins, although, Joe, I think one of those might have been yesterday, so apologies. Another very nice .69 ERA with a .77 WHIP. I also had Framber Valdez from the Astros. In 16 1/3 innings, he struck out 11 guys with 2 wins, a 2.25 ERA and a .75 WHIP. And then I also had Shane McClanahan of the Rays. 12 innings, 16 strikeouts, 2 wins, a .75 ERA, 1.08 WHIP. All right, Joe, before you hit your adulting reliever, any other starters for you?
No, Burns was 2-0 last week because I checked that. He didn't pitch yesterday against the Cubs.
Okay, so that was all last week.
Yeah.
Aren't you happy? I mean, they lost, but at least it wasn't his fault for once.
Well, they might be pitching against him tomorrow. I forget who Hendricks is going up against. So,
1 second, I have it right here. No, Hendricks is a TBA. They haven't announced it yet. Somehow, so
hopefully.
Bullpen game. All right, Jason. I'm assuming nobody else for you starting. Joe, who is the adulting reliever of the week?
Clay Holmes is your adulting reliever of the week from the Yankees. 2 for 2 in save opportunities, 3 innings total pitched on the week, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, 6.67 WHIP, and a 182 batting average again. So he had the best week by far of all the relievers.
Yeah, that's a good week right there. All right, my hot teams for the week. I have the Blue Jays, the Twins, the Astros, the Mets, the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers. Yes, Jason, that's correct. That the adulting reliever of the week will never list Corey Knebel, most likely. Do you guys have any other teams you'd want to add to the hot teams list?
I blanked out a second there. Who did you have?
Blue Jays, Twins, Astros, Mets, Brewers, Cardinals, Dodgers.
The Red Sox are on this list. They went 7-3 their last 10. Really getting themselves back. Off of what looked like a terrible run. The other thing too is they scored 16 runs against the White Sox the same day that the Cubs gave up 20. So, as bad as my loss was, I'm glad the White Sox lost just as badly. So,
fair enough. And one thing I would like to point out with that, Joe, it's amazing what happens when your manager shaves his beard off. All right. So looking at the week coming up, I know we're in the week coming up right now, but Atlanta's on the road all week. 3 at Arizona. They did lose last night 6-2. The pitching matchups for the rest of the series, you have Morton versus Castellanos tonight, and then tomorrow's Wright versus Bumgarner. I'm actually looking forward to that one. That should be a good pitching matchup. Granted, I will not see that game because working 12s with a 3:40 start is not conducive to seeing a game. And then to finish the week off, they have 4 in Colorado. Anderson versus Gomber, Fried versus Kuhl, Strider versus Freeland, and Morton versus Feltner. Yeah, I hate West Coast trips. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then for the Cubbies, it's a long week for the Cubbies. You guys had a doubleheader yesterday, and then 2 more with Milwaukee. Tonight, Steele versus Lauer. Tomorrow is Hendricks versus TBA. And then you have 5 coming up with St. Louis because you've got a doubleheader on Saturday. That's a lot of baseball this week. Damn. TBA versus Liberatore, Strobin versus Mikolas, Smiley versus TBA, although I doubt Smiley's pitching.
No.
And then the second game of the doubleheader, neither team has announced anybody yet. And then Sunday, oh God, you're on Sunday night. I'm so sorry. That's going to be Steele versus Wainwright. Damn, Joe, that's a lot of baseball this week for the Cubs. That should not be allowed to have two doubleheaders in a single week.
A lot of baseball, a lot of baseball. Not, it's been a rough start so far. Josh Hader has had 2 saves yesterday.
Yeah.
So he's on a good pace there. And you're running into a Cardinals team that is continuing to just be, lights out offensively. Goldschmidt is in the middle of a hitting streak after Sunday of 21 games, and his on-base streak is 35.
Wow.
And he had 22 extra base hits in the month of May, which ties him with Stan the Man and Pujols for the most by a Cardinal in a month.
Well, that's not bad company to be with.
So he really is having a stellar go of it here, and so I'm not looking forward to what will probably be a rough week. The good news, I think, is with this one is that we're going to get some of, we had Matt Swarmer pitched yesterday for them. He's a rookie who came up and made his first start in Wrigley with the wind blowing out and performed really well, really impressive. He's a guy who, when the MILB went down in 2020, ended up playing in a adult wood league near his hometown, pitching there and getting his reps in. So he found ways to continue to develop and continue to grow stronger. He's a Kutztown graduate, so he, a local kid making a big start in Wrigley is huge for him. So he pitched pretty well. I was pleased with that. I don't know if he'll pitch again this week, or I'm assuming he's going to get at least one of those games in the weekend. The other one too, I think you might see, they might bring Caleb Killian up. He's another guy that they're really high on in the organization. So, I'm interested to see just what they can do. I'm hoping, Thompson gets some good reps in as well. So,
yeah, this is going to be a weird week, and a ton of pitching is going to get burned up for Chicago this week with the ridiculousness of two doubleheaders in a single week, which why there's not a rule against that, I don't understand.
Josh, go ahead, Joe.
When you have Miley's on the IL, Smiley's on the IL, or going to be, Suzuki's on the IL, this is Juan Soto after the trade deadline type stuff here. Some of these guys, we just don't know every day who's playing. Hayward is still on the IL, might come back soon. So they're going to get some young guys some looks here, and I'm really that's the best thing about this year is you're going to see a lot of young guys. PCA has been promoted to high A now this week, so he's just been tearing it up.
I mean, Joe, with as many games as you guys have this week, you might be pulling guys up from Tennessee to spot start. That's it. That's how rough that is with two doubleheaders.
Just a quick note, Joe. Josh Hader is an early front runner for the adulting reliever of the week for next week.
Yeah, he sure is. He sure is. Thanks, Jason.
Is there a reliever in baseball right now that you hate to see come in more against your team than Josh Hader? I can't think of many.
I imagine some teams don't like when Scott Efros comes in the game for the Cubs because, his sinker is 18 inches this way and his two seam is 19 inches the other way. So, hey.
Yeah, that's nasty. I'll give you that. I mean, if it's Jason the Show, it's Darren O'Day or anybody else who's submarining. He does not like that. But so the Phillies this week, homestand against West Coast teams coming in. So ordinarily better, although as the Phillies showed earlier this year, they apparently can go to the West Coast and win games and then suck when the West Coast teams come in. So right now they're in a 3-game series with San Francisco. They did lose game 1 last night, 5-4. Tonight it's Suarez versus Junis, and then tomorrow's Nola versus Rodon. That's going to be a really good game right there. And then Friday through Sunday, 3 at home with the Anaheim Angels, Eflin versus Silseth, Wheeler versus Lorenzen, and Gibson versus Sandoval. How did you guys skip Thor? And I kind of feel like you would have rather faced Thor because of all the experience your hitters have against him. But so, Jason, are you excited to see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani come in? And are you so happy you don't have to face Shohei Ohtani pitching?
I am. And as a matter of fact, I will actually be at the game on Sunday.
Nice.
I'm going with one of our buddies, Matt, who is a part of the Huddle Up crew. He has the Sunday season ticket plan, 3rd row, right field, lower porch. So excited to go see that. I hope for a Phillies win. I am excited to see Shohei and Trout. Hoping for a good game, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
And Gibson versus Sandoval, that's going to be a nice matchup too. It should be a pretty good afternoon.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good one.
And hopefully it'll be good weather as well. Guys, do you have any other series you're watching for this week?
I do have one, and it's the later series this week. It's a matchup of the top 2 teams in the National League. It's Mets in Los Angeles facing the Dodgers.
Ooh, that's going to be good. Too bad that's on the West Coast, and I will not be able to stay up for any of those games. But I will be keeping a very close eye on those box scores. Joe, anything else that you're keeping an eye on this week? You're muted.
Sorry.
That's all right.
White Sox Blue Jays should be good early here this week. Can the White Sox put a few wins together and turn things, more in an upward direction for them, particularly with TA now on the IL with a groin strain. They're getting Eloy back, but they're losing Anderson at the same time. So,
well, and the Blue Jays are hot right now. I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak, I think. So they're talk about coming in against a team that's clicking on all cylinders right now. And over their last 10, they're 7-3. So, what is the White Sox team that they're going to see the White Sox team that's starting to revive and starting to play better, or is it going to be the White Sox we've seen for most of the first half of the season so far?
I don't see any indication that it's going to be the former. It's more than likely the latter right now with the way things have gone. They have a rough week too. They faced the Rays in the weekend. Can the White Sox kind of again build on what they've been doing? The Twins play the Blue Jays this week, so that's another good series here this coming weekend. That should be fun to watch. I mean, I'm going to have enough baseball to watch, so I probably won't follow it too closely. But those would be the other series I'd look out for.
Yeah, this is honestly overall a good week for baseball. With the Braves being on the West Coast, I will not be seeing very many games, especially at the very early starts with this wonderful aeration process we're doing on the greens. West Coast games are not my friend right now, so I will probably be checking out a lot of the other more local teams over this week, just because, hey, it's baseball. I'll watch any team anytime. All right, guys, you can find the audio recordings on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. You can see us live on our YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter. You can find our merchandise at www.redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. On our Twitter page at DDAB_podcast. You can find all 3 of us on Twitter. I'm at PyroLord314, Jason's at JRicker300, and Joe's at JoltonJoe35. We are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast, LLC, and we are sponsored by the amazing Whiskey and Blade Barbershop in Lidditz. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good night, everybody.